anticipation.
It's gotta be good.
If I get thrown out, I'll go live with my mom.
Mama, get up the males.
Welcome to the Real Estate and Chill podcast, the newest and coolest podcast. So tune in. Two experts discussing the real estate market. Loan officer James Chudley and associate real estate broker Kevin Iglesias. Beware, this is not another boring podcast. This right here is the shit you need to hear, respectfully.
Welcome back to the newest episode of the Real Estate and Chill podcast. I'm your host, James Chatter from Cliff Gull Mortgage, here with
Kevin Iglesias, associate broker. Man, today we're in Hicksville, right?
Yes, we're in my territory today.
We're in this beautiful, diverse community.
Oh, yeah,
in a beautiful commercial building with the one and only Gooba.
Yes, sir. That's me. Gooba Life.
So you might know him as Gooba. His real name is Avinash Dilchand. Yes. So introduce yourself.
So my name is Avinash Dilchand. Real estate investor. I do sales, broker. Trying to make it. Trying to teach everyone as I go along the way. Trying to build generational wealth. Focus mainly on passive cash flow. That's what my goal is. And it's pretty much a little bit about me, So
modest.
Yeah,
car enthusiast, right? You love Supras, you love Mercedes.
I love Supras. Supras is like, I went to college, to school, to make a profession to see if I could afford a Supra. That was my whole purpose of going to school.
And you did it. And you got two of them.
Yeah.
Oh, you got two of them?
Yes, sir.
What are the price tags on those right now?
Oh, man. Turbos in clean condition, original turbo cars going over from 80 to 150.
Sheesh.
If it's low mileage, 200K, 300K, crazy numbers if it's all original.
So you could sell those right now and buy a house?
Yes, you can. You can, but I think the Supra is actually a better investment than the house. It's been going up every year. I have never seen that car drop. It's insane. I think what it is kids growing up, especially me, you saw it, and that was a dream car to have. With the whole Fast and Furious and whatnot.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I saw them Fast and the Furious.
And then it's limited, so they're not going to make more of it. So it's damn, I want it. So at one point in life, you're going to try to achieve that goal to own it, And when you buy it, you're not going to sell it back for less. It's like when you're paying top dollar for a house, I'm keeping this shit until I make my money back on profits, So that's, I love the Supras, man. That's me. I love Supras.
So what are your thoughts on the new ones that just came out?
The new Supra is...
Wait. Those are what, the different engine, no? BMW?
Yeah, BMW engines.
Yes. Okay. They're cool. I mean, if I was younger, getting into cars, I would get one because they're pretty quick if you modify them. But yeah, they're pretty cool cars.
You stick with the OG though?
Yeah, I like the original.
Yeah.
That's me, old school,
So how'd you get into real estate?
Oh man, so how I got into real estate. So I'm a scientist. I was working in the lab.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, I was working in a cancer
Bill
lab.
Nye, the science guy?
Yeah, Bill Nye, the science guy. I was a freaking, I was working in the labs, and I was always hustling. I was always doing more than one job. Meaning so my dad died at 49 when I was 20. So it was my year right before didactic rotations. And, got to pay bills, got to help out. So I got hit with responsibility at a young age. And that's why I try to teach other or younger generation personal responsibility. And that's what real estate technically is about. Personal responsibility, having accountability for yourself, for your actions, following up. But so my main career, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, that was straight to bills, mortgage, helping mom out, family. So I was like, I can't live like this. I'm in my 20s. I need to have fun. I want my car. So I'll get a second job in the lab, overnights, and I'll work the overnight shift. So I'm working Monday to Friday, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, all day, whatever. I was always constantly just hustling and working. I was reading a magazine because I was big into cars. It was called Heavy Hitters. Manny Koshman was on the cover. And I'm like, damn, this guy has Bugattis and all kinds of, crazy cars. I'm like, how do you do it? So I bought his book, The Contrarian Playbook, and it said that he got his real estate license first. So it's 3 a.m. and I'm in the lab reading his book damn, real estate license. Do not. He said he did that for a little bit, and then he bought his first building for $10 million, flipped it for $30 million. I don't know how you bought a $10 million building out of nowhere, but okay, cool, So I figured, let me do that. So now I was going into lab at night from 11 p.m., getting out at 5 a.m. 5 a.m., I'll clock in by 5:30 my day job at the other lab. And I'll get out at 2, go to a real estate office. It's like 2 to 3, 2 to 4, come home, knock out till 10 a.m. So that was my cycle every day. Just like trying to learn, trying to grind. I had to make money. But yeah, that's how I got into real estate. You know, I was like, I had to take the leap eventually because when I first started, I was a telemarketer. And telemarketing, I saw the loan officers, they were young, had the cars, had the house. I was like, man, I got to get into something of that sort of field. So I always promised myself, I'm going to go to school for the medical field and, you know, come out, I'll buy properties eventually one day. But it took me a long time to get to that. Like, I kind of like didn't fell off that track because when I was hit with so much, you know, difficulties in life, it's hard to think about success sometimes, you know, when you're like at your lowest and everything is sad and like depressed. And it's like, because my dad was like my favorite person, you know?
Yeah, man, sorry to hear that.
So yeah, so that's how I got into real estate. It's kind of like, you know, and I saw my dad, like he wanted to get into real estate, like investing. He wanted to buy properties. He was a mechanic, you know, he came here at 17 with a few dollars in his pocket, like every story, you know. It's like, yeah, man, I swam across the ocean, like, you know, Spider-Man from Guyana. But, and I saw the vision he wanted, but it's hard when you got to raise a family. You come here, you know, we're first generation, so it's like everything was to invest into me, you know, so I could get the benefits, so my grandkids get the benefits. So I saw what he's doing, and I was like, you know what? He passed. He didn't get to live that dream. So, like, you know, I'm going to start where he left off. And, I mean, pretty much start from scratch, but build or try to follow through his vision. So everything I do is pretty much kind of like to impress him. That's like my main guy every day. I wake up like, yo, what can I do to make Dad happy today? So that's kind of where, you know, I try to push myself and, like, you know, take it to the next level.
Yeah, so that's the motivation.
That's
Yes.
your why. Everyone has a why, right?
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out why, because I was just mad inside for a long time, you know? Like, when my dad died, it made me into, like, another person, and it took me a long time to get back on the right track.
But you started off as an investing first and then into, like, the real estate? Or?
So how I started real estate was the first firm I joined, they were mainly investors. I never worked with a big box brokerage or any of that, which I advise everyone to do. Like, I wish I did the trainings and the learnings because a lot of things I didn't learn and it made it more of a difficult route. So I met investors who were buying houses and they were fixing and flipping. So I was like, you know what? I have my career. I could stack my money or whatever, work hard, and I was giving it to an investor and they would give me a return. And when I started my first brokerage, started working in my first brokerage, I saw everybody in like the suits and the cars. I was like, oh man, I want to be like this. So I had a few deals in contract, about 8 deals, and I quit the lab. I left the lab. I was like, yeah, I want to make money. I'm good. Yeah, it won't be as much, whatever. All 8 fell through.
Damn.
I was broke. I had my
What year
wife-
was this?
This was like 2016.
Oh, wow.
Damn,
So that's not
even
long
that
ago.
Nah, yeah, I had wifey paying for my car and shit. It was bad. But yeah, it sucked, and I was like, damn. And I realized that I can't rely on other people for sales, like with buyers and sellers, you know. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna continue the investing route. I met a partner of mine. Me and him bought our first property, and man, I got hit with everything that under the sun that was like that could go wrong, from having tenants, you know, to having water main in the house freeze up, pipes bursting, HVAC getting cut. Like, the house we bought was on the water. The taxes, I didn't realize. I didn't do due diligence. I thought it was like, oh, it's $17K a year.
That's still high.
The
for a
realtor,
flip.
when I sold the realtor, was like, dude, this is $23,000 a year because you forgot to factor in the village tax. So me and my partner,
Where
like,
was
damn.
this at?
This was in Freeport.
Freeport, okay.
And now we had this home for 2 years because it took a year just to get the tenants out because they originally had, it wasn't like they were squatters. They were actually living in the house. Like, they owned it before. They just, you know, never followed through with the pay the bills and whatnot. So, of course, the one house that, you know, usually not pay, get the squatters out, the one house that I buy, they hired an attorney as well. They were paying their electric, they were paying their water bill. But right before I got them out, they destroyed the house, HVAC system, the central air system, like, you know, pipes were bursting, toilets, holes in the wall. Man, it was a lot more. So now I have to go find funds to go. I didn't factor this in because it was a beautiful house. It was built newer, like in 04, 06. And I have to go find funds now to go fix this house. So I'm like, shit, now it's been 2 years. I just lost $50K in taxes. That was my profits, you know, because I don't do hard money. I just pool investors and friends, and hey, let's go buy the house. You know, so I learned everything wrong under the sun, you could say, on that one.
But I mean, those mistakes you learn from, and not make the same mistakes over and over again.
It was hard to get back into another property after that. I'll tell you that. It was like mentally, like, damn, like I'm living in the flip. I'm here every day, and can I do this again? Can I go back into it? So that was very stressful. And to take the next step was like, all right, we have to have a better game plan. We have to get it, because most of the time these flips, the contractors make the money. And I'm
because they get paid no matter what.
Yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to. My goal is not to fill the contractors' pockets. There's got to be another way. So that's how I pretty much got into the real estate with the whole investing.
It's funny. You see a lot of like online gurus, fix and flippers. People are like, yeah, buy it. You'll make so much money, but they just sell you the dream, but they don't tell you anything else that comes along with it.
Real estate is probably the longest way to make money. It's the flips. It's you living in the flips. You run into Home Depot back in the day. You got to deal with the inspectors. You got to deal with the town. The minute you walk off, sometimes if the main general contractors and his workers are there and they mess something up, it's like they got to redo everything back. It's like, no, we just wasted all this time. So it's like the flip thing. It's you live in it. It takes time. You got to really dedicate all your time into it. But yeah, many real estate gurus, with this and the buy and the hold and the burn methods, like that's great. But it takes years for that to happen. If I'm buying a house at the top of the market, I can't go refinance and cash out and just go buy another property. Like where's the appraisal at?
Yeah.
Where's closing cost, everything. And then I got to deal with the maintenance of that property too.
Yeah. So let's touch base on that. The burn method right now, it's not working, is it?
I haven't done any burrs, but on the commercial side, I am doing that with for example, like a building like this. This was like a tool rental building. It's like a $1.5 million building, but putting about $600,000 into it's now a $3-4 million building. So now buying it cash, go refinance out that value of the building, the property, and now I could go and buy
more properties.
Yes, and the thing I do like about the commercial is that you don't need that much down. You don't need like the 20% that you could get away with 5%, 10% LOI. Yeah, man, it's the burr with the homes, especially in New York. There's not like it's unless you have cash to buy big multifamilies, 4 units, 6 units, something like that, and then rehab it and then pull the cash out. It's going to take a long route, because you got to wait for these properties to mature in value, and that takes time. They're not going to mature today, tomorrow, to pull that type of cash out.
So how are you finding your deals right now? Because I feel like now it's going to be a little bit easier, but the height of the market where everything was inflated and people were like, no, I want $500,000 for my house, even though the house was probably worth only like $300,000 in the condition that it was in. How are you finding the deals right now?
Well, originally I was getting it from the bank, but now there's other tactics out there like door knocking, looking at a title company, seeing who lived in the property over 30 years, and looking at tax liens. Seeing who hasn't paid their tax, paid them out, get the property. Everything's distressed. Everyone's owing. Unfortunately, real estate is great, but there's also the downsides where some people can't upkeep a property. They can't maintain a property. Situations happen, they owe the bank, they owe the city, and regardless of not, COVID or not, they're still getting evicted. They have to get out of the premise. And that's where, come in and able to purchase it at that price point. And, you want to fix it up, make it look nice, and you put it back on the market,
Yeah.
So.
You're all about cash flow.
Yes,
right?
sir. It's all about cash flow. It's all about, you have to make your money on the buy. If you can't analyze a property and be like, hey, I'm going to make X amount on this, or, because everything you purchase has to have an exit plan. Can I make X amount in the time I rent it out? If I buy $1 million house and I put $200K down and I'm cash flowing $2,500, if I have to rent out, a lower level for $1,500, okay, that'll be my profits. But now let's say a year goes by and I need to, get rid of this property, or it's not making sense, or I see something else. There has to be an exit strategy to show that, hey, this property is making money. There is an ROI in this, But yeah, I always make my money on the buy. You have to make the money on the buy.
Yeah.
Is this your first commercial property?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I didn't even realize this was yours.
So it's a partner of mine.
Yo, show some respect. Come on, man.
Bro, me and Gooba go back.
Yeah. No, but we're working on building more. So now that we have the relationship, I met him through cars. Everything's through cars, Most of my investors are all through cars. Because if you could spend a shitload of money in your car and it blows up or something happens, you could easily dump that money into like, an investment or something that could, make you some money. So the next properties we're doing are going to be 20 units, 50 units, and 100 units. But
20 units, 50 units, 100 units.
yeah, so it's going to be for a cash flow, and then I could continue to raise funds and go from there.
That's awesome.
And those properties are what, like in the boroughs?
For the buildings, they're going to be in Queens. They're going to be like Woodside, Corona, in those areas.
All prime locations too.
Yeah, because you got to go where the volume is. I love Long Island. But taxes and the permits.
Too high.
Oh man, the carrying cost of Long Island will kill you on a project.
So tell us a little bit about, so building out like a 20 unit like project. So like tell us a little bit about like how that happens.
So the first part of it is all zoning and plans. You have to get a good architect. You have to get someone who's experienced. Get the plans. You have to get plans approved. There's boards out there. You have to go to the board. And from that point on, when you find, a contractor or whatnot, usually, JV, do a joint venture with the contractor, so they know that, hey, they're gonna get paid. There's incentives for them to, be in the project. And mainly just that it takes time. It's to get everything approved, because at that point on, you have the inspector living at your doorstep,
Yeah.
So how long did this project take?
This one took about a year and a half. This is the town of Oyster Bay, so they were nice this time, but I feel like they're very difficult. I feel with the residential, they're more of a pain in the butt, but with the commercial, I guess because you're adding value to the neighborhood and you help them building up the area, they helped. They were a little more easier and nicer to deal with than I was expecting. So, but yeah, it's. Either way, there's always some type of stressor that's like, damn, you're planning on, hey, if I wanted to do 6 units or I wanted air rights. That's another thing. Like when you build these buildings, do I get the air rights? The zoning, is my building going to block my neighbor's views now? Like if I literally have to like cater every inch of square footage, because now if they have their AC out the window, silly things like this, they'll take you to court, or you get a work stop order if they want to be a pain in the ass with your tenants or neighbors.
So we never touched base on this on the podcast ever. Air rights, and that was one of the most. That was like the one thing that I thought was so fascinating when I was going and like get my license. I was like, damn, you could buy air.
So if you look at like the more higher end developments, like in like Cali, right? Like these 20, 30, 40, $50 million mansions, they have the view of like, the bay or the city, but these developers, they'll buy the air rights, so you cannot build. Even if you do build, you cannot build something blocking that view or obstructing that view. That's like that's really FU money,
Yeah.
Well, that's like in the city too, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's competing to have like the highest building.
Of course, yeah.
Buying air, I thought that was so sick. I was like, damn, I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Because depending on the zoning, it depends on how high you could go up.
Right.
So that's and how much you could get away with it. So it's a lot when it comes to the planning. An architect, and that's where a lot of the money goes to. Drawing up plans.
Somebody who's looking for like the first flip, what would you say like a budget would be? Obviously, every project is different, but what would you say?
I think for like a residential flip, anyone could do it. Honestly, it's not hard. It's like you just have to have the time and the resources, like anything else. But you could buy, for example, if a single family home, the first house I looked at was like in the 500K range, meaning I'm going to sell it back at that range because I know that's going to get the most volume of buyers. I'm not trying to go for a 7, 8, 9, like a crazy flip on my first flip because, unless you do it really good, but the buyers at that price point, it's they want certain things customized and whatnot. But if I know from my 500K and people see a brand new property, I'm going to get the buyers. So that's my exit strategy right there. Right, so it's like, I would look eventually for a house for $300,000, or something like that sort. Where I have, if I put X amount of dollars into it, make it look nice, do over some plumbing, mechanics, your boilers, your hot water tank, your furnace, floor, sheetrock goes a long way. Depending, like some properties out there that are REOs or distressed that have a lot of structure issues, you want to stay away from stuff like that for your first flip. You want to go with something that has more cosmetic, like a quick, like pump and dump, or fix a quick, like a quick in and out, we call it. But for residential, $300,000-$400,000 if you can find something like that. Those are now. But here's the thing now: everyone is an investor, right? Everyone is a flipper. So now that 300 house is now a 500 house, right? Just because the markup, you got to pay this one, the bank wants this fee, and build the connections on getting it. So you got to really look at your margins on, hey, if I'm going to put X amount. For anyone, I recommend that it's a distressed property, go there with a contractor, walk the property with a contractor before purchasing it, and they'll give you an idea, estimate, hey, you know, what needs to be done.
So let me ask you a question. Now that what are the rates right now currently?
I'm not even allowed to answer that question, but if a client was looking at a house and they had a 800 credit score, 20% down, I don't know what the rates would be.
So give me an estimate. What are the rates right now?
The average rate on Google says 7 point something,
7
but it's not
point
actually
something.
7 point something.
So let's talk about that, right? Because now with the
I just can't
rates,
answer that question.
now with the
all
rates,
good.
now with the rates that are going up, prices are gonna have to come down, right?
So, I mean, you see in the market today, there's still properties going over
ask, yeah.
If you price it strategically. For the investors usually want like a higher dollar amount. So when that happens, a lot of buyers they try to like shy away because nowadays I learned that people won't even give you a lowball offer because they feel like they're insulting you. They'd rather just not even show that like look at that property or make an offer, unless you come to that price point, come down to like proper negotiating terms. But for the investors out there, that they're the ones who are getting kind of hit right now because like if a house is $650, they're gonna want like $695. They're gonna want to try to get top dollar. You know, you're gonna want the most for your money. Why not, right? And then what happens now, it sits and it gets stale. Now it's like an investor, you're like scratching your head because you got all these carrying costs. You got to pay your taxes. You got to pay X amount, electricity, all this stuff. And that's only one property you have. You have multiple properties. So the overhead gets high. So now it's like, damn, I got to kind of cut my profits just to get rid of this property now. So that's where the stress is.
So when you run the numbers now, obviously you have to put in a percentage of like a decrease, no?
Yeah.
Because you have to consider the market that's changing.
You got to think, hey, I'm not selling my house in 2 to 3 days. I'm selling my house maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So like we got to price it right from the get-go.
Still not bad though, thankfully.
But then it's not 2 to 3 weeks at that number you kind of want to. It's,
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You kick in the knees a few times before you get to, it's like, all right, I will accept it.
But here's the interesting thing. Now with the rates going up, right? Let's just say they even go up even higher, 8s and 9s, right? The sellers who were selling then, they really need to sell.
Yes.
So now you, as an investor that has cash, can come in there and make it a little sweeter for them because they don't have to worry about going into 10s, 11s, 12s. So you there's deals, there's going to be deals out there.
There'll always be deals.
100%. You got to find them.
10s, 11s, 12s. Oh my gosh, I hope not. That would be pretty bad.
That'll be insane. At that point, I feel like prices will have to kind of come
Significantly.
down. You know,
I'm not
like-
saying that's what there's going to be. I'm just saying a
So,
scenario.
Everyone's
Not
always
here.
asking me, since I started real estate, like, oh man, the market's gonna crash. The market's gonna crash. It's like since like 2014, 2015, it's gonna crash. It's too good. It's been like, what, 7 years? So what's gonna happen is like if you're buying areas in Long Island and like Queens, there's no more land to be developed. You know? So it's not like, oh, I could just wait till they build more houses or, you know, something else. This is what it is. You know, people are gonna get married, people are gonna buy a house, people are gonna die.
Yeah, no,
That's not changing.
you're right. Yeah. People are buying up land like nothing.
Because if you were to think of, if you were thinking you had 5 spots that has empty land in like Nassau or your area, it's hard to think of that, you know? Like
All right. So I bring that up
that's
because
already sold. Or already has their eyes on it.
So like I moved to Suffolk County 2004. Where we moved to, not the best area, right? My family lives basically in the hood.
Okay.
And then now recently they purchased up all the land. Now they're building up like $400,000 to like $800,000 houses in that vicinity. And I'm just like, dang, that's crazy. And they're building them and they're selling. They're selling like.
The hood is not the hood no more, man.
No.
The prices is.
Gentrification is real.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, I used to be, that's the hood. No, you see the prices, like no one in the hood is affording that.
No. So
You know?
it's interesting seeing everything change, you know?
Yeah, man.
But the scary part is like everything's becoming so expensive, and like people gotta work harder because everything's getting more expensive. Monthly
Where
payments
do
going
people
up,
go
prices
now that
going up.
Long Island's getting so expensive? The Carolinas, Florida,
Yes.
Connecticut
100%.
is a big one.
Connecticut. I haven't had anybody that moved to Connecticut.
But
Carolinas,
a lot of my sellers, like when we do the listings, a lot of them are Carolina now. Carolina and Florida, and Carolina has land.
A huge amount of land.
Like
It's
they'll
nuts.
send me pictures like, oh, they bought a beautiful house, but then you look in the backyard, it's like, yeah, they're gonna
An
be
acre,
building.
2 acres, yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap! Like
I'm not mowing that.
Yeah, but those are the areas that will drop. You know, like and these builders are not building how they were. You know, so it's like those are the areas that you'll see that when the rates go up, that those prices will drop because they're going to be building land out. They're building properties. The land is there. You know, they're not building more land in New York.
It's such an interesting market. It's just so different. Like the Long Island market is just so different, and the Queens market is so different from the Long Island's market. And then Queens is so different from Brooklyn. Like every
market
single
is-
place is different.
it is.
And Suffolk is a beast of its own. Like who knows what happens in Suffolk County? Like literally, every town is different.
I haven't done anything in Suffolk.
Oh, you don't.
I do so some realtors will tell you, hey, yeah, I do Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island, Staten Island, Bronx, West, like, bro. I do like Nassau, like, you know, South Shore. That's my main areas of focus. North Queens, like, you know, also like close to South Jamaica to South Queens. So that's what I like my niche, you know. Eventually, you know, as I learn, I'll grow. But certain areas when people talking about Suffolk prices and this and that, so it's like I'm still learning on that end.
Yeah. Nah, I'm pretty much everywhere, man. I'm one of those guys. I got something coming up in Montauk, something coming up in Brooklyn.
dope.
Like
Montauk and
I'm
Brooklyn,
pretty
that's
much
a lot.
everywhere.
Imagine that drive back from Montauk to Brooklyn, though, if you had to do it the same day.
Bro, it took me like 2 hours to go to Montauk, like 2 hours and a half.
Oh man, I went to for
End
my
of the world, they call it.
End of the world. But for my son's birthday, we went to Montauk, and that drive was like, damn, this is like it's like one road going in. I'm new to the Hamptons and Montauk and all of this, so I was like, it is beautiful out there.
It's peaceful.
Why he was like, we should buy a property out here. I'm like, yeah, I guess.
You know the
like,
prices?
I can't even.
Yeah, I saw both their cars.
Yeah, I'm like, because you see like all the homes out there, not like, you know, they're like, that's the style out there, look a little older style. So I'm like, don't like, looks deceiving out here. Don't.
Yeah,
That's what I
very,
mean,
very
that's
deceiving.
That's a few million.
You know what's funny is like everything out here, well, closer to like going towards the city, everything's like vinyl siding, you know, like black windows. Everything out there is like cedar shake siding,
Yes,
stuff
yes.
that we're not used to.
And then you see the prices like,
Yo, there's like mobile homes in the Hamptons going for like 1.25 million.
damn, I didn't know that.
I don't know
Yeah,
that either.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
We'll plug in the article right here, but it's nuts.
That's
like
wild.
It's insane.
No, everything out there is I can imagine because I remember one time a while back I was at an Airbnb out there and oh man, like the dude was making like 50, 60K in a bad month.
So we're in a recession, right? And it's funny because we got a client who builds in Southampton, and he's like, "That's just different type of money. Like when the rest of the world's in a recession, those people are fine. They're not affected
Yeah.
whatsoever. There's a difference between rich and being wealthy." He said the amount of money that those people spend to building homes and like all the features and everything else, he's like, it's insane. I've never seen so much money.
Yeah, and then like even when I started with the investing, I was telling investors I'm giving you X amount. He's like, oh, in the Hamptons they're giving me double that. I was like, holy crap. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's how much the profit margin was out there too. It was insane. It was like whatever number they wanted, they got for the property.
But think about it. If you're a realtor in those high end areas, you really don't have to worry about what the rest of the world is going through because the money's going to keep coming in.
Yeah, you know, everyone from the city, every CEO, every big shot, they all got a house out there.
But that explains why you see the Lambos, the Ferraris,
Yeah.
like everything out there.
South Beach, all of that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely. But yeah, man, real estate investing is the way to go.
Listen, as realtors, you could be killing it, doing a great job, but my advice to all the realtors, you got to buy real estate. That's how you become successful. You have to own the real estate. And I think as realtors, we're so busy in our day with like scheduling and showings and closings and appraisals that we have to buy the property because we're seeing in our own eyes that the properties are appreciating in value. You know, like, and there's times we see houses as a deal, like, you know, and like, I get it. You know, our life is about, you know, the sales. We're salesmen at the end of the day, but you want to be successful, you have to own something. You have to have some kind of asset. And listen, something happens to us tomorrow. You know, we're not able to go out there and perform. You know, like Warren Buffett says, you want to make money in your sleep. You want to be successful, you have to make money in your sleep. And owning a hard asset like real estate, that's anything. It's never too early. It's never too late. Like right now is always the best time to purchase. I'm going to be buying some from between now and spring. I'm going to have to contact you because I'm going to be buying some personal properties as well. Because
Got you, bro.
Regardless of the rate, like I could get away to 5% down and 10% down. I have to fight with the guys putting 20 and over asking. And my buyers from the beginning of the pandemic who didn't have the extra cash or strapped with the cash to throw at these over asking, they're hitting me up now. I have more buyers ever than ever. Just like, you know, let's go. And they're putting offers. They're being aggressive. And they're getting away with not putting 20% down. You know, during the pandemic, like during the craziness, If you didn't have at least 20, they don't even go to the house. Like don't like the.
Oh, trust me, I know. Me and him were on a deal together, and they were emailing me back, telling me to waive my inspection, my appraisal, and everything. I'm like, yo, I'm showing you proof of funds. I'm showing you everything. Like, I'm not waiving anything.
Funds, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Shit.
But
Man.
And now it's a better market. You can negotiate a lot more.
Yeah. So everything is cyclic, right? That's how markets are made to work, and like I said, you don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and you wait.
100%. And people have been saying the crash has been coming for years now. You know what I mean? And they still haven't bought any real estate.
But what's really a crash, and what does a crash really matter to anybody?
So here's the thing, right? On the loan side, everyone in the past 2 years is super qualified to purchase. The banks have been like, because of 09, 08, whatever crash, the banks are making sure that, hey, that these guys are well employed, they have, the proper funding, credit, like they're overqualified for these homes. So these people paying top dollar on buying these homes, they're not losing their homes,
Not a chance.
So our crash should probably be something different than the 08, 09, because the banks changed a lot of the rules and got a lot stricter from,
100%.
You see, like BOE was 3 days before now during the pandemic. Like, it was wild. Like, you couldn't just sell someone a home like, all right, bye. No, they were on you in this period.
What's happening now is just like the Fed is obviously controlling the housing market as they do before. They control the interest rate, they control all of that. In the Long Island market, like the market that we're talking about, if you're watching and you're not from Long Island, then we can't really advise on that. But in the Long Island market itself, we're going to see the rates go up. What's a crash and what does a crash really matter? Like, I educate every single client I speak to about this because, say, for example, you buy a house right now, you're getting it for a discount, you're paying a little bit of a higher rate, right? You're going to refi later on if the rates go down. If they don't go down, they keep going up to 20%. It doesn't matter. You bought it at the best time, right? After that, let's say in the next 6 months, the prices come down. What does that matter to you? Do you lose anything if you don't sell it at that time? The best part about having a hard asset is if you don't sell it, you don't lose any money. Right? Real estate appreciates 3% every single year.
Rent is 100%, bro.
Yeah, but
that's what it is, and you're gonna always need a place to stay. And that's another thing with rent right now. It's crazy. If I get a rental, like 15, 20 people calling me because they can't afford the homes.
Rent is more than your mortgage.
So the whole purpose of the rate was to cool down the market. But I think what it does, everything directly affects the middle class. The rate goes up, affects the middle class. When the rates were down, it differentiated people who were renters and people who were able to be a first-time home buyer. And I think that was a beautiful thing because, you stimulate the economy. But now with the rate, it's they want to cool down the markets. But everything is cyclic, It'll be back down soon. So, I would still acquire property and, like they say, date the rate, marry the mortgage, or married property.
That's James' favorite line.
Yeah.
that's my favorite line. I like that one.
Sorry, I took your line.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So one thing I want to learn more about is because I'm not really involved in commercial real estate investing at all. So I have buddies who do, and they always talk about triple net leasing. So can you break down can you give us a good idea of what triple net leasing means?
So I'm gonna make it very simple. You have gross lease, meaning that the lessee, the tenant, is not paying the taxes. Triple net lease means is that you're paying a portion of the taxes factor in the rent. That's pretty much what a triple net is compared to a gross lease where someone's not paying any portion of the taxes. They're just paying strictly. So nowadays, when you want to get into commercial investing or to buy buildings, triple net gross lease is frowned upon. You want to go more towards a triple net because a triple net's where it'll benefit you in the long run and also adds value to your property. So commercial's weird, man. Anything you could do could add value into you could rent out so many different things of it. If you have scanning air rights, you could rent out satellites or for radio stations. If you want to rent out,
is that a bad thing though? The radio station things? I heard that was really bad.
The thing with commercial, it's so many different avenues, to make money. And I'm still learning in it, but from what I've learned, it takes time. It takes time. It's a lot stressful. It's not like, hey, I need money today, tomorrow. It takes,
time to build.
It takes time to build. And that's why I think a lot of people get into residential, initially, just because, and it's a lot of, the language is different, the lingo is different. Everything else, it's, for example, you see something redline. Redline in residential means like a racial, type a term. Redline something in commercial is just hey, these could be altered or adjusted on a contract. So simple things like that are two different lingos.
Yeah, two different
The
things.
first time I heard it, was like, oh, we're redlining. I was like, what the hell? He's like, no, that just means like that's up for grabs to be changed. I was like, okay, cool.
Just making sure.
So you went from residential first, then you broke into commercial after.
Yes.
So how was that transition? Like, what did you do to? Because I'm sure a lot of people want
It
to
was
do
just
that.
honestly the people, my clients and my investors. That's like a lot of my investors. They already have buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of like, like the energy's kind of pulled me towards it, right? It's something I've always wanted to do to get into, but it's not like I woke up one morning and was like, oh, I'm gonna do commercial. It just so happened that, hey, I have this building, let's lease this out. Or I have another building, let's lease this out, and I'll learn from warehouses to other things. And like, man, this is pretty cool. I like this. So. Did a great job like normal, and then got recommended, and now it's leading to bigger projects.
Is that where most of your business come from, like referrals and stuff?
All my business is referrals through friends, family, social media.
All right, so what's one hack? Because I feel like everybody wants to get leads from social media, right? Like, what's the one hack for you? What's something that works for you that you would say, this is what I do that helps me in my business?
I don't take it that serious. Like, I'm just like, kind of like, you have to be yourself, laid back. People could tell, like, they gotta like you before they do business with you, right? So it's like, you gotta like, just be yourself, be genuine. And people's constantly like, hey, this guy is with his, my family or like my cars. Like, if you see my real estate, my page, I don't have like a ton of real estate on it. Like, it's cool, I like it, but I still like my, my balance in my life. My friends, my family, and just always, helping people. I think that's the main thing, is that I'm able to help people. Regardless, like even coming from the medical field, I was helping people, and being in real estate, I found other ways to help people. So it's like when you help someone and you see them like, smile on their face and you feel good, and you do good, you want to do better, and it's like, it's weird. I know it sounds corny, but that's honestly what it is, just helping people.
No, it's true though. The more people you help, the more money you're gonna make.
Because I've seen people come into business just to make money. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and then they crash and burn, because it's like everyone has a gut instinct. You get sense if someone really wants to help you or really wants to be genuine with you, or if they're just out there to like, make a dollar.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, like, people hear realtors and the salespeople stuff, and they see all these memes and stuff. It's like, because a lot of realtors are really out there just to make the dollar, and people don't want to deal with that have that kind of relationship.
Yeah, and I've seen it too. Like, I've seen like real estate agents, lenders, like them do like stuff like that. It's just, even
with the investing portion of it, like when I have investors, it's like, they'll make X amount or whatever, and I'm like, hey, you want to have another property coming up? Do you want to invest again? It's like, nah, all right, cool. And then they'll hit me up. I actually have another friend who's an investor, and boom, and then they'll spread the word, and it's like, so it's not like I'm out there. It's like, oh, you got to invest, nah. If you want to do it, cool. I'm gonna keep doing my thing no matter what. And if you want to be part of it, then great.
So one thing that I wanted to touch base on with you is so adding on to that. So you have investors that your friends, family, referrals, everything like that, but you don't take out hard money loans.
No.
So why is that?
You just
don't want to. You don't want the liability.
I don't like owing people. I hate the fact that I have a mortgage on my house. Like I always tell my friends, man, I can just pay off my mortgages, and it's like, no, that's stupid, because tax credit and this and that. Use that money to leverage to buy more real estate. I get it, but I just hate owing and having to pay bill. Like, I don't like that.
And hard money is like the
thing is, if you had got hard money during the loan, like the pandemic, and you weren't able to pay it back, those rates balloon. They balloon after X amount of time to a higher number, and that's where it gets scary.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just touching like base into hard money now, because we could do hard money in-house.
Eventually, I have to get into, like, with the commercial stuff. That's going to be all.
All right. By the time you get into it, I'll learn everything I need to know about hard money, and I'll help you out with that.
That's when I'm going to have to start to leverage the bank.
Yeah. I mean, I've been hearing like, it's all like like everyone has their own systems, because like, we've had like a bunch of like investors on the show, like, who do hard money, like they only want to do hard money. Like, shout out to Luis Monje, like he wants to do hard money,
Vinny.
and like that's how he wants to do it. Shout out to Vinny Basquiano, and like you want to do it a certain way. We've got other people only want to do it with cash.
I'm not knocking the hard money. Hard money is great, because you could, instead of buying 1 or 2 properties, you buy 10.
Yeah.
But are you gonna, unless you want to do the 10, then that's great. But with
it's
me,
not personal preference.
Yeah, if I have the cash, I'm gonna use it. If it's at my fingertips, fuck it. I'm just gonna,
And like, and the question is also at sometimes, like, do you even have 10 houses to buy? Because like in the past 2 years, like it got harder,
and everyone wants to pick something up. And, you know, and another thing too, with the hard money, sometimes every bank's different. Like sometimes they may not fund construction. Sometimes they may say, hey, it's not the appraised value. And, but again, I don't want to get into every bank is different. 10 houses, yeah. You know, and it's like, now it's like, damn, do I want to buy 10 houses if it's going to sit if I can't sell it? That's the next thing. Like, where's the exit strategy? You got to look at the exit strategy.
So speaking of exit strategy, so now, like, let's say you bought a house tomorrow. Like, you calculate ARV before you even buy it.
You have to.
So what are you factoring in? Like, are you taking a 30%, like, are you just deducting 30% off the top and just seeing what happens? Or like no, do you have like a much like larger strategy? Because like that's like the general strategy I'm saying.
You can't go with the percentages like that because then every deal will not make sense. Going back into cash flow, which you brought up something that just sparked my mind. No one wakes up and buys 20 units. No one wakes up and buys 19 units. You got to buy one property. That's your bank, meaning like a multifamily, a two-family, or even a single family. You have that appreciate. Almost like a BRRRR, but a longer method, right? And the best way, I think, is to get a multifamily, right? A two-fam where you can have some kind of cash flow, and then obviously purchase more down the road. But you have to get one first.
It all starts with one property.
Keep one property as your bank where you could use it if you want to finance it. You have to get one because no one wakes up and buys 100 units, 20 units. You got to start off buying something
small.
So it goes back to what I was saying. As a realtor, try to get yourself into the asset as quickly as you can. And you're gonna be like, damn, I wish I did this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because you learn the ins and outs.
No, 100%. I think that like right now, like buying the two families, I think it's golden. I always advise people like if you can afford it, maybe look at a two family because like in Queens and like areas like that, because that's where I do a lot of business as well. Like I had a client, I'll give you an example from yesterday. They were buying a one family. You look at their total amount that they're spending out of pocket and like their total, mortgage payment, right? So if their total mortgage payment on a two family was, let's just say $5,500, but they're only spending like $2,500 out of pocket, and like you have somebody else on one family, they're spending, let's just say $4,200, and they're only paying like $3,100 out of pocket or something. Yeah. Obviously, I'm just making these numbers up.
But the main thing is that when you buy a property, don't look at cash flow because nothing will have that cap. Nothing will have that cash flow that you want. Is like, oh, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Even if you get a property that takes care of itself, that you use as a bank, and then you can use it to leverage other properties. Because if we all went off of buying properties with cash flow, we would never have any real estate. Because the cash flow margin would be so little that it will suck if you factor in like fees, maintenance, all kinds of costs. And it's if you look at the cash flow and you focus on that, you'll analysis paralysis they call it. So.
And honestly, like that bank, what you're saying, like use the house as a bank, that's golden. Like right now, like in China, they're actually like going through like a housing crisis. I don't know if you guys are aware, but like they're going through a housing crisis right now because
our economy is stimulated by China because of the like I guess is Commonwealth. They're not allowed to buy X amount of real estate.
Yeah, they're like so they used real estate as well, this is gonna. Do you know everything about it? Because I could just tell you.
No, tell
quickly.
Me.
All right. So like, from what I've learned from it, right? Like what I've looked into from it, the way in China that they buy houses is that they are taught, like generally speaking, that they buy real estate to save money. Like they save money not in a bank, they save money in real estate. So what happens is when they buy projects, you can basically give money to a developer, and you pay for like a concept of a house. So you don't buy the actual house; you pay for the concept of the house.
So
they
plans?
make the house.
Yes,
yeah.
I think
they make the house first. Like they make the house after you pay them. So you give them the money first, then they make the house. The problem is that, like, let's say I like gave Avi like money to buy a house. Somebody else did whatever. He's like building out a bunch of houses, and he doesn't actually like fund all those houses and stuff. I'm messing up the second part, but like
no, I
the
get what you're
problem
saying.
is
The
like
concept, because you can't buy X amount of real estate. I heard in China, like that's why they all dump it here.
I had a client who was of Asian descent, and he came to the open house, saw the house for 5 minutes, said I'll buy it cash, gave me his proof of funds right on the spot. He said, do you know if the neighbor's house for sale too? Because I want to buy that cash too. It's like they're just buying in bulk.
I had a two family in Queens, $1 million cash. Do you have any more?
Exactly. So real estate is the way. It just goes to show you.
But it sucks. A lot of us are unfortunate, like the foreign countries where they have where there's no classes and they're just like tycoons buying everything, or our own property. It should make us aware that hey, these guys outside the country are buying here. We need to buy here.
Yeah.
No,
it's true.
Live here. We should be the one developing and living in our area and expanding our economy.
I respect that so much, though, because why save your money in a bank? Real estate is the only place where you can get an average of 3% appreciation on money that's not even yours. You know what I mean? You own a property for $1 million, $900,000 is a loan. You're still getting appreciation on that $900,000 that's a loan that's not even your own money. Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, and you know it all comes down to financial freedom at the end of the day. That's what I care for the most. Having financial freedom, that's ultimate goal.
100%.
A lot of gems dropped here, man. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you inviting us to your building.
Thank you, man.
Where can people contact you?
It's Gooba Life, GOOBALIFE on Instagram. That's pretty much it.
Wait, so before we go, so how'd you get the name Gooba?
So I grew up in the hood. You know what I mean? A lot of Jamaicans and Haitians. They can't say Avinash. I can't even say Avinash. That's my name. So we playing basketball, I was fatting around like, Gooba, here's the ball. Yeah, that's how I got named Gooba. I look like a Gooba. And it just stuck with me. I was like, that's my hood name. That's your name in the hood, that's your name. You can't change that.
That's on your license.
Avi or, you can't say any of that. It's Gooba. That's your name. That's it, and I just got stuck with that. I was not happy, but what am I going to do?
That's a great story. I love that.
Oh, man.
Look, we got merch coming out. Contact us for merch, real estate, hustle hoodies. November 13th, we hope to see you in attendance. We're playing at NASSAU COLISEUM for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
Get your tickets.
The link is right here.
Down below.
We want everybody to come, so bring the hood with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
All right.
That was the latest episode of Real Estate and Chill podcast. We will see you next time.